Have you ever felt the presence of God so strong? It feels like you were right there in His arms. Have you ever felt His perfect peace, that it feels like He is rocking you to sleep? Have you ever lost yourself in a sunset sky? You close your eyes and it feels like you are living on the edge of heaven. Oh, you are living on the edge of heaven. You can almost see the pearly gates, the streets of gold in your Savior's face. You're living on the edge. I know that we're almost there. Can't wait to meet Him in the air. Oh, yeah. Take a look around at this world today. Which right is wrong seems to be the way. Signs of the times are all around. Can't wait to finally hear that trumpet sounds. I know the Lord is coming back. We've never been so close than the place we're at, and that's living on the edge of heaven. Oh, we're living on the edge of heaven. I can almost see the pearly gates, streets of gold in our Savior's face. We're living on the edge of heaven. I know that we're almost there. I can't wait to meet Him in the air. Oh, yeah. My faith will have its sign when He comes. My hope will come alive. Oh, 'cause we're living on the edge of heaven. Oh, we're living on the edge of heaven. I can almost see the pearly gates, the streets of gold in my Savior's face. We're living on the edge of heaven. Oh, we're living on the edge of heaven. Oh, we're living on the edge of heaven. Oh, we're living on the edge of heaven. Have you ever felt the presence of God?
Hello and welcome to the show today. We have Mr. Scott Peacock joining us today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and his music. So let's welcome Mr. Scott Peacock. Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, CJ. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we like to start out with telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the business, and a little bit about that stuff. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I've been in music pretty much my whole life. My daddy was a singer and musician. My grandmother was a singer and musician. My mom cheered us on.
Right, of course.
But I've been singing in church, Lord, as long as I can remember. I've sung in church, camp meetings, conferences. It's just something that I've always just loved to do, just singing. And then probably about 20 years ago, I had a band, and we had fun. It was a lot of fun, and that really kind of, motivated me for songwriting and performing and stuff like that on a different level than just singing in church. Just traveling and singing. And And so we did that for a while, and then of course kids came along, and I
Mm-hmm.
put that aside, to raise my kids, and that's just was just that stage of life.
Right.
But here over the past couple years, I really got back into writing and performing and
Mm.
singing, and like I said, it's always been a passion, but I was
Right.
just at a point in my life where I could pursue it more,
Mm. Gotcha.
and
Yeah.
really focus, on what I wanted to do, which is, I mean, just sing on the biggest platform in the world, and
Mm.
spread the love of God, um, and God has really blessed me over the
Mm.
past, especially over the past year.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I've noticed. You picked up like 2 or 3 years. Yeah. I would say.
yes, yes, and the past year
Mm-hmm.
has been amazing.
Mm.
I've been to Nashville a couple of times to record,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
and up there it's really
Yeah,
cool.
I just went there, and it's an awesome place up there.
It is,
Oh.
and I went up there, and my single that you played, "Edge of Heaven," I actually
Mm-hmm.
recorded that one 3 years ago, I believe, in St. Louis, Missouri, with a
Oh,
friend of
okay.
mine, David Huff. And I always thought it was a great song. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
did write it.
Okay.
I wrote that song in about 30 minutes. It was,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that one was really cool.
And
But just
when
this
when you're talking
past,
about that right quick, can you go through us about the songwriting process? What's that like for you, and where do you draw your inspiration from?
okay,
From the, you know.
but just specifically, I'll tell talk about Edge of Heaven. I was at a
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine's house, and where you could look out on his front porch and see the horizon and that sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it was just
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. And I was like, man, it's almost like we're sitting on the edge of heaven right here.
Mm.
And I said, that'd be a cool song.
Right.
And I got home that night, and I was like, man, I said, let's just talk about sitting on the edge of heaven. And
Mm.
then, that experience, what would it be like? And, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, when that first line in the song, have you ever felt the presence of God so strong that it feels like you're right, that you're in his arms?
Right.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times when we get lost in prayer and we get lost in
Mm-hmm.
worship, I mean, it feels like God is just,
Yeah.
hugging us. And
Mm-hmm.
it just, after that, I got that opening line, I mean, it just flowed.
Wow.
And, you know, songwriting can be tough, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then sometimes it can be just, just flow right,
Yeah.
yeah. And I've had a couple of songs that have just flown, and God just, man, he just took over, and I
Mm.
wrote and wrote. And then there's been songs I've been sitting on for a couple of years that I can't finish.
Mm.
But you talk about inspiration for songwriting. I'll be sitting in church, and the past couple songs I've written, the pastor, what he was preaching, he'll say a line. Justin
Mm.
Adams is, shout out to my pastor, Justin Adams.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. And so he'll say something that'll just spark something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just have to type it in on my phone, because if I don't, I'll forget. Um,
All right.
so, a lot of times I need inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
and I need that little swift kick,
Yeah.
to inspire a song. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, yeah, I can go for a while and not write,
All right.
and that's okay. Johnny Cash, I heard him in an interview. He said, I just can't say, okay, well, Tuesday night I'm going to sit down and write a song.
Yeah.
He says, I can't do that. He says, I have to have inspiration in something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, you know, that works with me. I'll find inspiration in something I see or something I hear.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the songwriting and the process, and everybody's process is different, how they write
Yeah. Yeah.
songs. And,
Right.
mine, I'll come up with a melody, and as
Mm.
soon as I get a lyric, I'll tie that, lyric in with the melody, and just kind of go from there. And
Mm.
it's fun to watch a song come along,
Come,
because
come together. Yeah.
yeah, because I'll
Mm-hmm.
normally, I'll record it. And how I did, the Edge of Heaven, was I just recorded it, just me and my guitar. I took it to the
Mm.
studio, and man, when you're dealing with professional musicians, it is so
Yeah.
cool to watch them guys work, because all I had was just
Mm.
me and my guitar, man, and they just took it, and I was just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is so cool to hear, something I wrote on the side of my bed,
Mm.
to to just being like this, this amazing song that they created, and it was really awesome.
Wow. And so with that, being on stage, can you share a memorable experience of your story from being on performance on stage, if you have one?
Oh yeah. I this happened years ago, and I'll tie this in with my dad. A
Okay.
lot of people knew my dad was Johnny Peacock, and a lot of people, know my dad. And
Okay.
I've gotten noticed a lot of places throughout Georgia as Johnny's boy.
Yeah.
Johnny Peacock. Hey, you're
Right.
Johnny Peacock's boy, ain't you? I was playing in Houston, Texas,
Mm.
and we had just played. It was in the middle of August, so it was brutal hot. And I got through playing, and this guy come up, shook my hand, and goes, "Man, you look like this guy I know, Johnny Peacock." It's like,
All the way in Texas from Georgia.
oh
Can you believe
yeah,
that?
yeah. So, but I've had a lot of memorable when to see people worship,
Mm-hmm.
while you're singing.
Yeah.
That that's a humbling experience because you are helping. And I've always said, man, if I can just bring one person to Christ, one,
Mm-hmm.
man, it has made it worth it. And
Right.
and I have been singing, and people come up to the altar, and they give their heart to the Lord. And I'm like, if that's the only person I reach, because that person may reach 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
And me doing what God has called me to do, is very rewarding in that aspect, to watch somebody change their life and give their heart to Christ. And you know it's really really cool,
Right.
for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Right. Who are the musical influences and how you have shaped your sound?
Oh man, the number one that comes to mind is David Huff. There's a
Mm-hmm.
Christian band called David and the Giants. They were really big back in the '80s and '90s, and
Mm-hmm.
they're actually still touring to this day. And I would have to say David Huff, because I have written songs and people say, "Man, that sounds like a David and the Giants song." And David's written by David Huff. I was like, "No, I actually wrote that one."
Mm-hmm.
But he's probably number one, and we keep in contact. To this day, because the man, he held me when I was 6 months old, is how long
Oh
he's
wow.
been friends with our family.
Mm.
And I love that man dearly. Him and his family, we keep in contact, about as much as I do my regular family.
All right.
But then get into more, now Mac Powell from Third Day.
Oh yeah.
Pulled a lot of influence from him.
Mm.
I love to hear anything Crowder writes is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Matthew West.
Yeah.
I pull influences from those people, but still try to remain true to me
Right.
and to my writing and how I sound and how I sing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that David Huff though he's number one. I love that
Okay.
man to death.
And of course, if the audience has any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll pull them up and we can answer them as we go. But what have been the biggest challenge in your that you have faced in your music career, and how did you overcome it?
Oh man, my biggest challenge is I would have to say is rejection. It is the fear of
Mm-hmm.
rejection, the fear of somebody just coming up to me and saying, "Man, I really don't like your music." And I actually
Hmm.
had that happen to me in a
Really?
church.
Well,
It's been so
you're in church, yeah, I can see that.
yeah,
Because
because
there's a lot of different generations, of course. But
yes, and it was an older gentleman, and he come
mm-hmm.
up after this was back when I used to play more rock and roll type, Christian music.
Okay.
And he come up and he says, "Well, I don't like your music. I like your message, but I don't like your music." And I can
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
But and I do face challenges, a lot, as giving up, just quitting, because it's challenging just to just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And the devil, man, he wants us to give up,
Right.
because God has placed a call. If God has placed a calling on your life, man, the devil wants nothing more than you just to quit.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge is to keep pushing forward, keep songwriting, keep practicing every day, keep promoting. And that's self promotion is a lot
Yeah.
of what I do. I put out videos, and man, it is so cool to somebody send you a message and just say, man, that song touched my heart.
Mm-hmm.
That song really, really touched my heart. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
and here I was trying to give up. And,
Mm.
I just sang, just this 30-second clip on Facebook. And somebody said, man, that I really needed that today. And man, that makes it, worth it, and makes it worth just keep pushing forward. And you never know what's, around the bend, what God has in store for you.
Right.
And that's been really, really cool.
So, do you have a song you can play for us now that you want to start and sing?
Yeah, I can play. Actually,
There's one I was listening to. I don't know, Higher Place of Praise.
yeah, that higher place of worship. My brother
Yeah.
Shannon actually wrote that song.
Oh, did he? Wow, I like
Yes.
that one. Yeah.
Oh man, Shannon's an excellent songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
He makes me sick sometimes.
As
easy
I should have both of y'all on here then, huh?
Yes, yes. But actually, I just finished this song, and I'm going to Nashville next month to record this song, and it's called "Walk On," because a lot of times we just the race isn't given to the swift; it's just given to if you just keep going, the one that endureth to the end, and that's what we need to understand. It's not how fast we get there; it's just when we get there, and that's where the inspiration for this song is.
Okay, well, take it away. Everybody, Scott Peacock.
It's been a long road to get to where you are, but the road back home isn't quite as far. Nights are long, feel like days on end. You don't have to run to live again. You could stand, you could see it then. You don't have to run to live again. So walk on, walk on, to be with him, the one you can believe in. Walk on, walk on. But today pays the price for yesterday. Tomorrow you hope can only ease the pain. The faith you have is not as much as it seems. Still you find the strength to believe. You will smile and see the sun again. You only have to finish to win. So walk on, walk on, to be with him, the one you can believe in. Walk on. It's not the ones that finish first or take the prize above. It's the ones who will hear him say, well done. Walk on, walk on, to be with him, the one you can believe in. Walk on, walk on, walk on.
Well, that was awesome.
Well, thank you, brother.
Can you tell us a little bit about that background of that song there?
It was I was sitting in church, and the pastor had just made the statement, as long as you just keep moving forward, as long as you just keep, if you wake up and you just put one foot in front of the other, you're doing good. We can't compare our walk with other people, because comparison, I say the comparison will just destroy you. And I deal with that, a lot, looking at other people that are in the music industry, and I can't compare, a good friend of mine, Teddy Swims. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He grew up here locally and went to church with me, and I can't compare my success to Teddy's success.
Right.
God has different paths for people,
Mm-hmm.
and all I do is what I do, and God will take care of me. But that song, like I said, just keep walking, just keep moving forward.
Like you said earlier, with the songs, you write them down and they just stay there. That maybe there's timing in God's that He's waiting on for you to release that song.
And like I said about Edge of Heaven, I recorded that song 3 years ago, but I didn't release it to radio till this past August, and because I didn't want to send it out to people, because I was afraid what people were going to think. But I sent it to this ad just kept coming across my Facebook feed, and a lot of those are scams and stuff like that. But I looked up this record company. It was AOK Records out of Nashville. I talked with the guy, great guy, Adam Knight. I talked with him, and I sent him my music, and he come back and said, "Man, this is good stuff." And I was like, "Okay, or do you think it's good stuff, or are you And he says, "No, man." He said, "This is Edge of Heaven. It's a great song." So he released it to radio, and a week later, I got curious, and I just Googled my name just to see what would happen. Well, my name in Edge of Heaven popped up, and it popped up as the number 13 Christian streaming song in the country.
Wow.
And I know, I was reading this list, and it was Lauren Daigle, Phil Wickham, Toby Mac, Scott Peacock. And I was like, whoa. Let me go back and look at that again. I was like, this has to be a mistake. And so I took a screenshot of it, and I sent it to the radio promoter. I was like, what does this mean? He says, it means you got the number 13 song in the country right now. I was like, man, there's no way. I said, I'm just this little country boy from Newton County. And, he goes, no, brother. He said, soak it up. He said, because this doesn't, he said, for a first time, an artist to release the very first song they've ever released. And he said, for it to be on this chart, whether it be 13, it goes 1 through 20, 13 or 20, he said, that's a big accomplishment. He said, so soak it in. And I did. I sat there, I was, working in a house, and I was sitting there, I was crying my eyes out. I was calling everybody I know. I was like, oh, man, I got the number 13 song in the country right now. So that was a, like you said, it was God's timing to release that then, and not, when I recorded it, 3 years prior.
So you had a show town. So how do you prepare yourself mentally and emotionally before a performance?
Man, that's a really, really good question. I like to take it
and
easy.
It's probably different for each performance you do. So
it is. It can be, like I say, singing in church, of course, is a little different.
Right.
But when I have a show, I like to wake up and take it easy that day. I'll eat my favorite breakfast, which is grits and eggs. I love my grits and eggs. And then, a couple hours before the show, I'll break out my guitar, and I'll just start practicing. I'll sing the songs over and over and over. Because you don't practice till you get it right. You practice till you can't get it wrong. And so I will sit there and just, and then start mentally preparing myself. And then when I get to the show, setting up, if you ever catch me and you're like, man, he's upset about something, I'm not upset. I'm in my own little world. And, just preparing, and once the show starts, I just let the Lord take over, and, I have fun. It's a lot of fun. Just like if I go to the gym, if you ever see me at the gym, I got my earbuds in, my hat pulled down, and I walked right by a guy I go to church with, and he kind of patted me on the arm. I was like, hey, man, I said, I'm sorry. I'm in my own little world.
You're you're in your zone.
Yes. And that's what happens, the day of a show, or, and I just, I mentally prepare myself and I'll share this. A lot of times I've had dreams the night before of that show and everything going wrong. The microphones don't work. I break a string, nobody shows up. I sing the wrong words. It's just like everything went, and then I'm waking up and say, oh my gosh, is that really going to happen? And, some of that stuff has happened. I've stepped up to the microphone and completely forgot every word to the song that I wrote.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and it happens. And then
Right.
I actually saw a video of Corey Asbury. He's wrote
Mm.
songs like "Reckless Love" and "Kind." And he was in the middle of singing a song in church, and he just blanked, and he's like, "I wrote this song,"
Mm.
and I forgot. And, it just happens,
Yeah.
and it's something you just have to look back and laugh, and but a lot of times, when I've messed up, nobody else knew. Nobody else knew that I
Yeah.
messed up except for Scott.
Yeah.
And I'm my own worst critic. I'll be
Mhm.
like, oh man, I can't believe I messed up that song. That was a great song. It was going good. And but it happens.
Right.
And so,
And then I know we've been talking about Edge of Heaven. Is that is particular song or project you worked on? You got any more that you have a story behind it? How many songs have you written?
oh Lord, CJ, I've probably written 100 songs.
You've probably written
Yeah,
a lot.
I've probably
Yeah.
written 100 songs.
Yeah.
I can tell you this. I remember the very first song I ever wrote. I was 13 years old, and I was in. Well, I don't know if I was 30. I was in 6th grade, and I wrote a song, and I was super proud of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I showed it to the teacher. She's like, "Did you write this?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "This is good."
Mm.
And we actually, when I had the band, back in the early 2000s, we actually sang that song, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, songwriting can be very, very rewarding. It can be, mentally draining. There's times
Yeah.
when I wanted to finish a song, and I'll lock myself in my room till I'm done with that song. It may be an hour, it may be 2 hours, but that's just what I have to do,
Right.
for myself, and I have to really focus. And of course, I'll chase a rabbit hole. I'll be right in the middle of writing something, and my phone will ping, and I'll check it, and then I'm down a rabbit hole looking at reels on Instagram or TikTok, and then I have to put your phone down. It's time to
Right.
to come back. But writing is definitely something that you evolve, you develop. I actually had somebody they text me and say, "Hey man, I have a song I want to write." I was like, "Man, that's great." He says, "How do you do it?" I was like, "Well, I basically write what comes to me. If I'm working on a certain thought, a lyric, it can just happen different ways." And I said, "But it's different for everybody." I said, you can't write a song like I write a song.
Right.
I can't write a song like you write a song. It's probably just like a minister preparing for a message. They all do it different. But it's something that I constantly want to get better at. I want to just keep developing. I never want to be to the point where I say, "Oh, I got it down. I can do
Right.
it now." I never want to be that way, because God will be like, "I'll show you."
Yeah.
But I definitely, I just want to, keep getting better. And, I can't be more grateful for the opportunities that I've had to share my music.
And with that, how do you connect with your audience during your performance, and what do you hope they take away from your music?
Um, Connecting, like when when you're in the middle of singing a song and you look at somebody, and you make almost like a spiritual connection with that person.
Mm.
And sometimes you can see in their eyes that, man, they've been there too.
Yeah.
They've been where you are, and you've been where they've been. Um, and just, and what was the second part of that question?
Um, and what do you hope they take away from your music?
I just hope that they just take away inspiration to know that, I've been in the dumps. I've had bad days. I've man, I've lost everything, but I've also gained everything.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of people, I did an interview. This guy was like, a lot of people think that people that sing, Christian artists and stuff, like, don't have bad days.
Right.
Man, we have bad days. We do. Preachers have bad days, and that's just it. But when somebody like that, they realize that you're human. When they realize that that guy's been through it, and then he's
Yeah.
up there he's living his testimony. And that's what I have. Friends that I go to church with. This one guy, he's been I think he just celebrated 2 years sober.
Mm.
And I've sat and talked to him, and man, he said, dude, he said, I've been in and out of jail since I was 15 years old. And now, man, to see him every Sunday worshiping, oh my gosh, I get inspiration from that guy to keep going. And I get, and I go to the gym. Well, I don't work out with him because, I'm 5'9", 165 pounds. He's like 6'3", 250 pounds. So our weights are just a little bit different. But, just to see this guy on the daily, and his name's Jason Slayton. I'll say his name is Jason Slayton. He's an amazing guy. I gain inspiration from people like that. And just to keep pushing forward. Yes, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have many bad days, but as long as you just keep pushing forward. And like I said, I hope people get that from my songwriting and to know that there's hope. There is hope. Our hope is in Christ Jesus. Right. And as long as we just keep pushing forward, we're going to be fine.
I think along with that, us as Christians can get tired and going to church every week, going to Sunday school, going to Wednesday night, and we need inspiration to keep us going because towards the end times, that's when it's going to be tough for us to keep going. So,
brother, we was at, if I'm on team at church, Sunday mornings I have to be there at 7:45, Sunday morning, and today I'll go and tell you I took about a 2-hour nap.
Yeah.
When I got home. Because we have a 9:00 service, and I put all that I have into worship service.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be up there holding a microphone and just, singing and, no, I want to be up there with energy. I want to be up there, with on my mind that, man, God has let me see this Sunday, and I give it all I've got for 2 services. And I did that today, and I was riding home, and it's like I was about to fall asleep. So as soon as I laid on the couch, and man, I took about a 2-hour nap, and but like
those
you said,
are the best naps, by the way.
Oh man, Sunday after when you've had good church and you've had a good lunch, and man, it's time for a good old nap, and that refreshes and recharges you, and that's
pretty much like you're resting in Jesus, pretty much. So
absolutely, and you get geared up, because I have music practice tomorrow night, and I'll be singing. This next week is another busy week. I'll sing Wednesday night at church, Thursday night at Delivered Ministries. I'll be singing again, and then of course I'll be singing, Sunday at church. But man, I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right,
I love it.
With our last question, what is, you talked about a little bit about it, but what advice would you give aspiring singers and who are looking to pursue a career in Christian music?
Just keep going. Sing as many times as you can. If they want you to sing in youth service, sing in youth service. If they want you to sing at their Monday night prayer meeting, sing at their Monday night prayer meeting. The more you sing, it's just keep going. I don't care how big. I've sang in front of 20 people, and I've sang in front of 3,000 people. And it's not about the numbers. It's about who it is you're singing in front of. And that if you're singing in front of 20 people, there could be that one person that's just needing to hear that God loves them. That they just need to hear that one song that you're singing. But and then you could be singing in front of 3,000 people, and they could all clap for you, and they all leave. So it's not about the numbers. It's just about who you're singing to. And man, and that's why I'm given so many opportunities, to sing, and I take every one of them. If it's the national anthem, I'm singing the national anthem next month at the Dixie Speedway before the dirt track race. And that's going to be cool because I've never been to a dirt track race before. But I'm also singing the national anthem for the Gwinnett Stripers this year. And, that's in front of, 5,000-6,000 people.
Yeah.
And they asked me, they said, you don't mind singing in front of 5,000-6,000 people? Man, that don't bother me at all.
Just don't look at them, right?
Yeah, you just stare at the sky.
Yeah,
But no, singing in front of people has never bothered me. I've been doing it, man, my whole life. And, it's just always so much fun and so rewarding. and especially doing what God has called me to do. And,
Mm-hmm.
and man, I just couldn't be more grateful, for the opportunities God's given me. And I'm just, keep pushing forward and keep on going.
There you go. And do you have ways people can get in contact with you? Like, do you book concerts and stuff like that?
Yes, I do. They can reach through all my social medias. They can also go to scottpeacockmusic.com
Yeah.
and book that way. I also have, merch store where they can buy like these hats right here that, have the Scott
Okay.
Peacock logo on it. They can, buy everything through my merch store. But yeah, they can reach me on all my social medias. Just type in Scott Peacock, and contact me through there, and I'll be willing to come sing. And I just love singing, and it's just I could not be more grateful, more thankful, for what God has blessed me with.
Yeah. And so, with this last 2 minutes or so, would you close out with a message for the people about your heart and all that kind of stuff?
About my heart, yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I just really like to tell people, don't give up, don't give up. I have over the past, 2.5 years, I've lost everything, but I've also gained everything.
Mm.
Through that loss, I've been taught, who's going to be there for you and who's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be there for you. I've been taught, who the true friends are. Um, and, God has taken me out of situations, and God has taken me out of places and placed me where I need to be.
Mm.
And it's like, I didn't understand at the time, but I
Mm.
definitely understand now. The church that I'm at, New Life Praise
Mm-hmm.
Center, 811 Brown Bridge Road, Covington, Georgia. You know,
Go ahead.
God has placed me there for such a time as this. And those
Mm-hmm.
people have been so loving, so caring, so, non-judgmental. And I've said this, a lot of people don't deserve to sit on a church pew with a former addict,
Mm.
because that addict is not going to judge you no matter
Mm.
what you've done, because they have sat in jail. They have,
Mm-hmm.
they've been, to the bottom. And then, somebody like me who was raised, I was raised in a conservative Christian home. Um,
Mm-hmm.
no offense to the way I was raised, by no means.
All right.
But, a lot of times we thought if we wore shorts, we were going to hell,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But these people, man, they take your hand, and to watch these people worship,
Mm.
I'm telling you, it blesses my soul. Um,
Mm.
but God has placed me around the right people. I could not ask
Mm-hmm.
for a better pastor right now, and Justin Adams. The man's amazing. His family, um, I have some of the best friends that I've met at this church just over the past few months, and we talk every single day. We inspire each other. We lift each other up.
Mm-hmm.
But to that person who's wanting to pursue a career in Christian music, just keep going, keep
Mm.
writing, keep, pushing through the hard times. And, just understand that if God willed it, nobody can take it away.
Mm.
If God wants it to happen, he will make it happen. And like I said, God has, done so many things for me over the past few months, that, he's allowed me, like I said, to go to Nashville and put me in contact with some, pretty big people in the Christian music industry and in the
Mm-hmm.
country music industry. Not saying I'm going country. I'm not going country,
All right.
but, I have talked to some big time producers, out of Nashville, and God has put me in contact with people that, that like my music. And I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Mm.
But just to that person who's wanting to do it, just keep pushing forward, keep doing it.
Mm.
If God wants it to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Just saw your brother on there. I might have to get him on there because he got a testimony too.
Man, does he have it. You want to
Yeah.
talk about somebody that died
Mm-hmm.
and came back to life? And
Yeah.
I love telling his
Yeah.
story. I do, then it happened on Easter Sunday. And I
Mm.
look at people and I say, man, my brother died. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. But he rose again. And they're like, they look at you like, what? I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
And then I tell them the story. Yeah, Sean
still
has an
happens.
amazing. Yes, and we talk about that. People talk about only seeing miracles in the Bible. No, man, I have seen miracles after miracle, and with my own eyes. And when people say, "How can you prove there's a God?" I said, "I can prove there's a God because I have seen the unexplainable." And so get Sean on here. That'd be fun.
I'll get him to tell his own story. How about that?
Yeah, because you don't want me to tell it.
Right. But I appreciate that. Appreciate you coming on, because that's what I'm going to start doing on Sunday nights, having Christian artists and people come on and tell their testimonies about the life in the Christian church, and have Saturdays for political and business arenas. So I appreciate you being my first non-political person.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The only thing I do about politics is go vote.
Look, hey, it's important though, especially right now in our county.
If you don't vote, you can't complain.
Exactly. So I appreciate that, and I'm going to end on a commercial here in my show, and I appreciate having you on.
I appreciate you, CJ. Thank you so much.
All right, you have a great day.
You too, brother.
Welcome to Chatting It Up with CJ Live Interview Podcast, where conversations come alive. At Chatting It Up with CJ, I believe in the power of authentic conversations. That's why I create a safe space for my guests, whether they're a political figure, church representatives, or a local entrepreneur, to share their stories and passions. Approaching each conversation with an open heart and attentive ears, I delve into the guests' stories to understand their perspectives deeply, fostering a connection between them and you, the audience. Experience the essence of passion, diverse viewpoints, meaningful engagement, profound insights, authenticity, and transparency with Chatting It Up with CJ Live Interview Podcast. Want to showcase your business? Become a sponsor and have your brand prominently featured and mentioned during one of our shows for just $50. You can also show your support as an individual viewer through donation. Head over to chattingitupwithcj.com to become a sponsor or donate to support our podcast. So, grab your